Yeah, it works.
Yes.
Definitely moving.
Yeah.
Your eyes are as bad as mine.
Yeah, it works.
They're getting bad, man. Okay, welcome to the Village of Rybrook Planning Board meeting. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Where's the flag?
Oh, well,
There it
There
is.
it
No. Where's the flag?
okay,
Pledge of allegiance to the village flag is always.
all right, let's do that.
Oh.
Okay.
Mm.
I pledge allegiance to the
To the
flag
flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Bring the flag back.
Come back.
Anyway, that was weird. But anyway, welcome to our planning board meeting. My name is Rob Goodman. I'm chair of the planning board. Also in attendance tonight is David Heiser, our liaison from the Board of Trustees. Our board members are Ed Teague, Lenny Vaseman, and Scott Mendelson. We have a couple of people excused, Amy Schoen, John Gerzan. We do have a new member that is going to be on the board next month, Kevin Branch, and so he'll introduce himself at that time. Also, we have our village attorney, Judson Siebert, and his colleague, Pam Vania?
That's good.
Vania?
Yeah.
Vanya. Ah, Jesus. Much prettier than how I pronounced it. Okay. Michael Nowak will be here at 7 o'clock. He's at an engagement right now, but I think another meeting. But he will be here to address certain applications where stormwater management and arborism is involved. Just for the benefit of professionals, we have on the Rybrook website, we have streaming video of our past meetings. We also have our board rules, which I invite all professionals to review because they will help facilitate procedures before the board, and I would appreciate that. Our agenda tonight, we have a couple of matters on, 3 matters. I'm going to take them a little bit out of order, just because I think that may make things a little bit more efficient tonight. So, up first is 379 North Ridge Street. And why don't you just summarize your application?
Sure.
And see if we have any further questions for you.
Sure. Good evening, members of the board. Greg Cacciapoli, engineer on the project at 379 North Ridge Street. The proposed improvements include a front walkway, a replacement of the existing driveway in kind with concrete instead of asphalt, a proposed pool in the rear yard, 16 by 40, and associated pool patio, and stormwater management. Since we are disturbing over 400 square feet, we need to mitigate all impervious surfaces on the property, and we're doing that via an underground infiltration system, which is located in the rear. And I believe when we were before you last, Hardesty Hanover had requested some screening be planted around the pool equipment. We did that. We provided all the specs for the equipment, and that's the project in a
Right.
nutshell.
And let's see. I think Sarah's not here tonight, but in speaking to her, I think you addressed all the issues that she had relating to mitigation. I don't recall there being any sort of outstanding issues aside from the few items that were mentioned at the public hearing last time. And by the way, the public hearing is continued. A public hearing was open for this matter. Do members of the board have any questions for the applicant? Are there any members of the public who would like to speak to this application? It was open last month. Judson, just to make sure, this was open, the public hearing was open last month. And continued, right, okay.
Yes.
Okay. In that respect, let's have a motion and a second to close the public hearing.
Move. Second.
There is a draft resolution.
Is there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we need to take attendance on the motion.
Oh,
You have to,
used to Mike doing that.
I know. Sarah gets completely floored when that happens, so.
So can I have that again, motion?
Scott Mendelson moved and Ed Ty second.
Okay. And vote?
Call, yeah, I guess we can unanimously say
Yes.
aye?
Yay.
Okay,
Yay.
Great.
all right, and then we have a resolution.
There is a draft resolution that has been prepared, and has been posted on the village website.
Okay.
For purposes of disposition of the application. It is a standard form, resolution to grant, both site plan and steep slopes work permit. Conditions include submission of a construction management plan, conformance of all work in accordance with the code, notification of the building inspector at least 5 days in advance, also standard. Display of the permit on the work site, and expiration date, which would be October 9th, 2026, unless no extension is granted. Otherwise, standard conditions. There are other conditions the board wants to
Okay, maybe for the benefit of the applicant, if you would, what are the conditions? Anything,
Submission of a construction management plan to the satisfaction of the village building inspector and DPW, village engineer. All work performed pursuant to the steep slope permit shall comply with conditions set forth under the village code, section 213 6B. Applicant shall notify the building inspector at least 5 days in advance of the date on which disturbance of the steep slopes is to begin. The permit itself shall be prominently displayed on the work site while work is underway. And expiration date of the permit will be October 9th, 2026, unless an extension is granted by the planning board upon written request.
any comments from the rest of the board? Okay, can I have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution of approval?
Move. Second.
You can call each of our names, or?
Okay, got a little slow on the uptake.
It's okay, it's all right. If you need my list, I have it.
Motion by,
Same, we'll do the same moving and seconding.
got
So,
it, okay.
Yep.
Okay. And calling the vote.
Okay,
Chairman goes,
okay. Aye, yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Mendelson,
Yes.
Mr. Teague.
Yes.
Mr. Baseman,
Yes.
and, I don't have my glasses.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, you guys have an approval.
Great,
know,
thank
good
you
luck.
very much. Thank you.
And you're on
Yeah, third.
third. Okay, super. All right. Okay, our next matter is 24 to 30 Carroll Court. Is the applicant here? No? The applicant's not here? All right. What I'd like to do is I guess we can start with, well, let's give the applicant another 5 minutes, see if they show up. And So you're welcome to smoke, drink coffee, drink whatever you have at your side. We'll take a little break, and hopefully the applicant will be here.
We could have a search for the flag.
We can have a search for the flag, yes. And whoever, and the village will provide special honors for the person that finds it.
I mean, how far can it come?
You can show up like
Maybe it's in a
it
closet.
says. It's a no for.
That's enough. Yeah.
Your time is more important than mine. It's a no.
Yeah, that's enough. We're all volunteering. No, which, honestly.
They could want to plant a tree in the yard, and it's a no for me.
You thought the flag was in the closet?
I don't know, man. I mean, where's the
I
flag?
was here last night. We had the pleasure of our audit report.
Bit of what?
It was taken overnight.
Audited it once a year.
Yeah.
So they took the
So
flag?
they took the flag.
I thought about suicide.
They took the flag?
I would
I
have
think we're
given him the
confused.
flag.
I think we're confusing stories
Yeah.
here.
I would have given him the flag if he cut the report short.
Your flag has 51 stars. You're out.
I think it's related to the event that they're hosting tonight.
Oh, really?
I think, they didn't tell me, but I think that's where it was.
So there's just someone marching down the street with
I
that flag?
don't know, but that's the only thing I could think of.
I hate flag.
So we have Kingfield tonight and the.
No, Kingfield.
No.
Oh, Kingfield again?
No, we're
They punted.
gonna be meeting with them tomorrow
Okay.
and hopefully come to some sort of resolution
Okay.
that we can deal with next month.
Okay.
I think we spent enough time to talk
Yeah.
about it.
I mean,
It's really up to them now, but
I guess we can't really talk about it.
yeah.
It's good because John's not here. He'll want to be a part of it. John missed last meeting and this. He'll be back, I think, for the next one.
He's in Croatia.
Yeah.
I was at his house, and I was like, "Where's Sean?" So they're like,
His daughter's not mad about it.
"No." That's they second to you probably. Like they're the best. You guys rival as hosts. They are.
They're cousins.
What?
I've heard they're good.
Anyway,
Regiment.
I mean, do we know
Just
who
they
the
got it.
applicant in Carroll
such a
Court
nice
is?
way.
The enclave? If you can find out what's going on with them, I would appreciate that.
That's quite the reward for no showing or being late. Just get a whole public meeting stopped for you, huh?
In court, it's a lot more difficult.
Oh, if this happened in court,
Oh, the judge is like, if he doesn't deny whatever you're asking for, he'll put you at the bottom of the list of,
I've
we'll be
watched-
waiting for the
I've
afternoon.
watched judges call when they walk in with their client like an hour late, call just the client up and tell them why they're gonna get everything denied because that guy was late.
It's awesome.
Yeah, and it's yeah.
It's pretty nasty stuff.
So why are we sitting here waiting for someone?
Because you want Mike.
Yeah, if Mike were here, then, because there are actually issues that will involve him on both of these next applications, so I'm not, because I don't, Carroll Court is basically a landscaping.
You're careful.
There's more issues about it because the Blind Book Club has some issues
Hmm.
with landscaping plan. So. Is a representative of the Blind Book Club here? You're here. You know where your colleagues at the Enclave are?
Oh, David's got things to say. I've got a question. Does anybody actually play golf there? 'Cause I never see anything like.
I'm not a member, so I can't speak to.
Urged you to join.
Planning board should be required to test for.
Yeah, exactly. Because of the screening.
You could also supply.
Correct. I would like to test the screening.
Sidewalk.
Site visits.
Might be
Yeah,
in order.
please.
I'm gonna actually text Michael.
Maybe you'd like some water. I don't mean for mine, but I think it's. Would you like any water?
I'll follow you back there. Meaning yes. You guys want some?
No, I'm okay, thanks.
Yes, please.
You know where the supply is?
I think so.
Pam, this is not one of our most suspicious nights.
Maybe it is.
Very unusual, though.
How far away is Mike?
He said he's at another meeting close by, but he said he's going to try to show up on
Lenny, do you remember what we're
7
supposed to
o'clock.
be doing tomorrow?
Modeling?
What does that mean exactly?
Oh yeah. You're gonna have fun tomorrow. You ever used Microsoft Excel before?
No,
Oh. I think that's what's in store.
I am a Luddite. I don't believe in technology.
Oh, well,
Any news?
Possibly avoid it.
So
you can charm your way out of
Yeah.
it then.
the landscape architect apparently spoke with Tarek. I'll let her know she has an application in Harrison tonight. She'll be here at
That's what I do for a
7:10.
living. So
That's why I let Don do all the talking.
smart thinking.
Is anyone else from
Modeling
the
for a
applicant
living.
coming?
I think
That's what I
Just
do
the
for a living.
landscape architect?
Don understands all of
it's
this.
the
I'll
only
just
contact
Don.
I have
It looked pretty.
off the net.
I'm deputy mayor, I can do whatever I want.
Well, I texted Michael, and maybe hopefully he will
Look what it
show
gets
up.
me.
Can we
Yeah, as to,
Wait,
I'm supposed to be here and so.
Yeah, also wait till 7,
yeah.
and then Oh, no. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Michael's got this down. He's like, you know, it's, when Sarah has done it, it's sort of like, and if I would do it, I'd get all the names wrong anyway. So don't even worry about it.
That's what we're gonna be tomorrow, basically, for land use plan. Lula. So it's 3 Fridays, last Friday was the first, and this one, hopefully, next Friday's the last. Yes. What we're talking about. I graduated at NYU.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the issue that, Michael flagged in his memo,
Yes.
I think is an absolutely, in fact, under section
When I graduated.
215, it doesn't really meet the standard. I mean, if you don't need to grade, you don't need 5 feet of fill. You have to, or you don't do it.
Right.
You know, and, Michael explained the reason why they're doing it, but I want them to state on the record why they want to do it, because it's not facilitating your use of your land, it's simply a convenience.
Girlfriend and lawyer.
So,
Retired
you
judge.
know, if they can reduce that amount of fill,
Judge.
you know, I think that will help them deal with the rest of the application. It can't be, he's gonna be here in 5 minutes. But, so what we'll do is we'll do Four Kings.
Yeah, we'll do that.
We'll do Four Kings and do that, and whenever Carroll Court shows up, you know, but, I don't know what they think Tara is gonna do. It's sort of weird. Something happened that shouldn't have happened. They contacted someone to tell them, and somehow we didn't get the message.
Yeah, I think it was the first one, I know. Yes.
Okay.
Every now and then I'll see her.
Anyways, thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate it. Mike will be here in 5 minutes according to his text, so.
Should be 4 now.
Okay, this is what we're going to do. The Four Little Kings matter we're going to take next. Our arborist and village engineer is going to be here in like 5 minutes. And I wanted him here because a lot of the questions that the public has about this application relates to engineering, stormwater management, a lot of technical things. So we wanted him here because he's reviewed a lot of the engineering details, and so I think his testimony will be, you know, very helpful. I also hope that members of the public have been reviewing the documentation on this, because I think there's been an effort to address. I think we have 2 letters that we'll address tonight. And I know that the applicant has, you know, had also had a memo addressing the issues that were raised at the last public hearing. So, you know, I think we're in good shape to try to come to some closure. But I wanted Mike to be here, so he'll be here in like within 5 minutes, and then we'll get started. And with Carroll Court, with the Enclave, the information I have is that their landscaping architect has been delayed, and that she'll be here probably around 7:15 or so. And, you know, we'll deal with this matter first, and then when that matter is over, then we'll address that application. And we have your letter, which you can speak to. So that's how we're gonna manage things tonight, hopefully. So applicant, yeah, if there's stuff that you need to get on the screen and stuff, yeah, work with Jessica. Jessica will help you.
I think I could figure it out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We went through that a lot. Yeah, it's still I mean, we made a bunch of, recommendations, and still, I'm not sure it's been completely addressed.
That was one of the points that they were making, that don't get addressed,
Thank you.
they do get addressed.
This is the problem. With the comprehensive plan. You may have been around when we had these discussions. This is like a year ago or so.
Unlikely.
The problem with the comprehensive plan is not the plan itself, but the fact that there was no mechanism for tracking the objectives of the comprehensive plan. There were no statistics, data, and this, I think, is a problem with comprehensive plans, probably across the board. They lay out very lofty objectives, but if there's no facility mechanism of tracking, you have no idea.
Yeah, there is.
And that's been the problem here. It's like something as simple as part of the comprehensive plan in 2014, we had a very detailed demographic study of the village, which helped explain what the needs of the village are. Because if you have large groups of people that are in a demographic, they may need mixed housing, standalone homes, also, public transportation. There's, the needs change, and like there's been no formal updating of the demographic survey since 2014. Now, how do you do anything without really knowing what's going on? And actually, I think as part of the green task force, we actually got some data on this, but I mean that's part of how you manage a comprehensive plan. So I'm curious, when you're at your course and this issue comes up, I'm interested in what the thoughts are of
They talked about it last week.
yeah, what,
Extensively. They had a presentation on it, so there. I forget which municipality it was, but they had someone present this just a comp plan for that municipality. Instituted, instated. And then she talked about kind of like actions and metrics, tracking them.
hello, sir. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Man Black.
Michael,
I'm the-
turn around. Never saw you.
A lot of people haven't seen it.
That's an hour since we were there interview.
Bob's there, opened up his own practice.
That's this. Mickey Mouse tie on.
Even more impressive.
Exactly. And I guess I still got the job.
Anyway, Michael, take a breather and we'll
No
start.
breathers.
No breathers.
No breathers.
All right, he's ready to go.
Just breather.
Wasted his breather. All
Some
right.
chat.
Okay, Little Kings. First of all, is there anyone who would like to speak to this application who hasn't spoken before and is going to raise issues that have not previously been raised. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Why don't we, what I want to do is I want to get all the comments out,
No problem, yeah.
and then you will go through your
Presentation.
memo, and then we'll deal with some of the other memos around. So, sir, why don't you come up? Anyone here? Okay. State your name and address, and speak into the microphone.
Sure. So I'm David Lowenstein. I live at 802 King Street, which is adjacent to this property, next to Mr. McCreath's property. So my concern is, there are a number of concerns, mostly with stormwater. What I don't understand exactly is why the property has to be graded. The last drawing I saw said there was a 21% grade towards the property line, and my house obviously is on the other side and downhill from there. I don't understand why the property can't be graded out to the street. I also see that there are new holding tanks that have been installed, it looks like within 10 feet of my property line. And when those things fill up, or even if they don't fill up, the water's gonna drain into the aquifer and ultimately is gonna wind up in my property. And my property already has water problems. When we get heavy rains, my garage, basement, and so on get wet. And I've been here for a long time before this development existed. And the property next to the one we're talking about has a drainage pipe that comes right onto the property line. So I'm sensitive to this. I also, back then, didn't know enough to know, but there's a 20-foot high retaining wall right on the property line that probably shouldn't be there, but I don't think I can do anything about it at this point. So those are my concerns. I mean, I don't understand why the grading has to be such that when there's a heavy rain, it's going to drain off to my property. And the other sort of related issues, one of the drawings had a junction box just before these holding tanks. It looked like there were 3 6-inch pipes draining into that holding tank. And I don't know the size of the pipe going into the tank, but it needs to obviously be more than 6 inches if you got 3 6 inches going into the junction. And if that floods, then ultimately it's going to wind up back at my house as well. The other issue that I can note is that the neighbor on the other side of this property, Mr. Hoff, was litigating with this developer and the town for years because the developer didn't provide adequate storm runoff. So again, this is why I'm sensitive to all this. I don't want to have my garage flooded. I don't want to have my backyard flooded every time it rains. So if there's some way they can, remediate this, changing the grading and so on, I think that would make everyone happy. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Which address? I'm sorry.
802 King.
Thank you.
Should I respond directly to that, or should I kind of?
Why don't you, since it's not in writing, it probably makes sense to respond to it, now, and then you have your memo responds to the points that were made in the last public hearing. So if you can address the gentleman's concerns, that would be appreciated.
I just want to understand where his property is before in relation to ours.
Directly back behind, there's a wooded area behind, you're right.
Oh, yeah.
Further back,
Uh-huh.
off of King Street.
Yeah, I understand now. Okay. I mean, it sounded like most of his concerns were associated with the direction of runoff and the potential of increasing that runoff toward his property.
Right.
I mean, just based off of, well, we actually have a topo certified by a surveyor, so I should probably reference that. But the existing conditions on the lot flow in this direction. I'm sorry. Toward his property, let me just kind of clarify where his property is. So his property is down here by my steep slope diagram. The contours currently flow from 180, 178, 176, and enter his property. We're not proposing any grade changes on that side of the lot, so everything is going to stay the same. We're just introducing an underground infiltration system, which is sized to store the volume of water going to it. I think I showed that in my calculations, and however, I didn't do a HydroCAD analysis in his direction, but I think it's going to be consistent results. If you're capturing water that used to run off to somebody's property and now storing it underground, you're going to reduce the runoff. So whether I do it to the south or the west or the east, I mean, we're going to get the same result. But in summary, where the slope currently flows toward his property, we're not regrading, we're not changing the grade on that side. It's going to remain the same. The only difference is that we're introducing an underground infiltration system, which is common practice
Right.
throughout Westchester County. I mean, it's not something that's new.
And it's just half the system, right? It's not doing the other half on the other
Right.
side?
And it is capturing half of the home. As far as, I think he had a comment about pipe capacity, 6-inch pipes are not, I mean, people usually use 4-inch. I like to do 6-inch because they're above standard, and although it seems like a large volume of water, 6-inch pipes can hold a large volume of water. And, I can show that it's sufficient, following my verbal, telling you that it's sufficient. That's not a problem. And I think that was his main concern. Is there something else that I need to speak on?
So there's gonna be no grading on that side?
No
grading
grading on
change?
on the west side of the property, no.
Will the grading on the other side though cause more water?
Why don't we take your, you had a memo that you issued that sort of addressed the concerns that were raised for some of the other neighboring properties, and so I
Right.
think that may be a good place to start,
Okay.
and then we'll move forward from there.
This memo or response to concerns was developed based on all of the comments and concerns that were made at the last meeting by the neighboring properties. So I'll just kind of skim some of the things that we heard. There was a comment regarding the easement adjacent to the property and the potential effect of the project on the easement. The easement is not in our property, it's adjacent to it. And we are not proposing anything that obstructs the easement itself, access to the easement. And it's frankly something that I don't even think should be considered because it's not on our property. And easements are bound to their meets and bounds, which is outside of our zone of influence. So that's my perspective on it. I believe there was, I did look at a drawing that showed what's in the easement. I think it's like a precast culvert that's 72, it's pretty massive. It's like 72 inches wide. I forgot exactly how high it is, but its purpose is to capture all of the stormwater on Little Kings Lane. And then there's an outlet structure actually on to Little Kings Lane property, which takes the water and meters the flow out. So there's a large 72-inch culvert entering this structure, which then has a smaller 8-inch pipe and a 4-inch pipe, I believe, that's leaving it, so it restricts flow to meter it to King Street so that it doesn't overwhelm King Street in a large storm. And that's its function. We are just adding soil to the property to create usable space. We are not affecting that in any way. And what we're adding is, although increases impervious slightly, we're introducing stormwater mitigation to address that, which is a requirement, and it's something that is practiced throughout Westchester County. The second one was there was a concern for storms larger than 25 years for 2 Little Kings Lane. I think it's probably a shared concern throughout all the owners. I did provide a neighbors, I did provide a HydroCAD report that showed that the stormwater system can actually store the volume that's coming into it in a 100-year storm. It doesn't even overflow. So, and I don't even think that was the intention, but it just so happens there's a good percolation rate. Not that it's not the intention, it's not a requirement. The requirement is a 25-year storm. But since we have such a good percolation rate, it just so it works out that in a 100-year storm, it can handle the volume of water that goes to it. There was concern at 2 Little Kings Lane on the aesthetics. We did do some renderings from that view that I think hopefully kind of add some color. I don't know if that one is. Maybe Dave should speak to this. He's the Dave Delardy's the landscape architect on the project. I think he's probably better suited to talk about the aesthetics.
Yeah, so we just, we had also met with the homeowner at 2 Little Kings and, tried to explain this, and then I had asked if, I had mentioned to her I would do another graphic for her. So, she was privy to this. That's the view from their house looking towards, 4 Little Kings. It's gonna be a boulder lining, just like you see there there'll be evergreens, and then just beyond the evergreens will be the shade trees that are there to replace some of the trees that are coming down. And this is basically, the view that it'll be. I mean, can you get some of the other ones? Yeah, so there it is, level lawn area. These are the stairs coming down, the progression. And all this pitch is gonna go out, towards the street and that way, I mean.
I could speak to that.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that's basically it, it's,
Right. It just gives an idea of what the aesthetics would look like from 2 Little Kings facing 4. I do also want to mention that the previous submittal showed all 18 Coltech chambers on this side of the property in this general area, and we now actually split it. Sorry. We now actually split it into 2 systems to help address some of the concerns of the neighbor. We have one system with 9 units on that east side of the property, and then we have the one that I previously touched on the west side with 9 units. The Coltech, actually, I believe it's county requirements, requires you to be 10 feet off of a structure or a property line with these underground infiltration with an underground infiltration system, and that's for zone of influence for recharging groundwater. So I think he had a concern about maybe us increasing ground or a water problem on his property, but it's underground and it's there to mitigate up to a 25-year storm. So it will not up to a 25-year storm, the system can handle it. Let's see. There was a concern at 2 Little Kings, and I'm sorry, when I wrote this, I didn't know. Mr. McCraith, the owner of 2 Little Kings and Mr. McCraith to the south had concerns that the runoff to the property line would increase as a result of the construction. We did an analysis. I did a HydroCAD analysis for pre-development conditions, post-development conditions, and there was actually a pretty dramatic reduction, I believe, in runoff from pre-development to post-development. So, pre-development conditions, actually, I have it on my, sorry, I have it here. So the peak flow of pre-development is 0.86 CFS, and the post-development is 0.61 CFS. So it's about 0.24 cubic feet per second less peak flow runoff following the installation of the Coltex. That's surface runoff.
That's in which direction, to the right here?
Yes, that's to 2 Little Kings Lane. And as I mentioned before, it's gonna have a similar, it's predictable, the result. It's gonna have a similar result in any direction, because water that used to flow there is no longer, since we're capturing it and putting it underground. So surface runoff will be reduced in any direction because of that.
Yeah, I requested the same analysis, the same hydrocloud analysis to 804 King Street, right? Because that just shows 2 Little King. It does not show the same
Yeah.
analysis that's seen.
Yeah, why don't we wait for him to finish his
Okay.
analysis, and then you can come up and
Okay.
speak to it.
I did notice that, yes. The next comment was, what is the height of the proposed boulder wall along the property line? I think we addressed this there, but I just wanted to put it in in writing. I think 30 inches max. And what is the change in elevation from the property line at 2 Little Kings to the finished patio? And it's currently 9 to 10 feet, probably closer to 10 feet, and we're not changing that. That's still gonna stay the same. I can kind of go through the letters that were written too. I did write up a response to some of the comments. I don't know if that's appropriate.
Yeah, I
to
mean,
do that.
we're gonna get to that. The
Okay.
one issue, I mean, again, there's a lot of engineering-related detail with this. And I know, Mike has reviewed, your data and knows these properties pretty well. And he's written a memo that I think also sort of weighs in on this. But he does mention, an issue of concern to me relating to the amount of fill that is going to be used on the property, at least on one side of the property. And his analysis was that there was a lot of fill being proposed, but that the amount that you would need to actually grade the property to make it even could have been a lot less. And his memo is sort of detailed, because about how much, 3 to 5 feet of fill. And I guess, Mike, and this is not just sort of, this is an issue relating to the standard that the board applies to steep slopes. And I was reviewing section 213.1 of our code. And the operative language is, in all cases where the planning board determines that total avoidance of steep slopes is not practicable, such disturbance should constitute the minimum disturbance necessary to ensure the property owner a reasonable use of their property. And what I'm concerned about here is whether the amount of fill is really necessary to achieve the level grade that the applicant wants. Because that, if you could use less fill, the property, the objective of the plan would be achieved. You'd have a level, a level area. And that adding a lot of fill on top of that, in many respects, complicates the application and raises a lot of these issues that
Yep.
your neighbors has raised. So and I think Mike can, in a more technical engineering way, explain it as well. But my pedestrian view of it is, yeah, that makes sense. And it may be hard for the planning board to actually approve that much fill if most of it is not really necessary to achieve the grade. And, you know, and I'm interested in what you have to say to that, and, you know, Mike will expand on his analysis on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say from my client's perspective, why they hired me,
Use the microphone. Sorry.
you know, why my clients hired me was to give them a usable piece of property that they've invested a substantial amount of money in, of course. And, you know, we came up with this solution because the transition from getting to their backyard, which they really don't have much of, you know, like directly behind the front door, and getting down to that area is, you know, there's like these like dangerous boulder steps going down.
You have pictures of that?
Yeah, there's photos.
Let me see if I got something.
I know they were submitted.
Let me see what I got
Yeah,
here.
there.
Here we go.
So
So-
you can see just to the left, it's just out of you catch the top end of the stairs on the left side.
So that's the staircase that he's referring to, that comes
Right.
down this way.
Right, and so, you know, we wanted to fill up to like here, you know, on this wall. And it just makes this whole transition, as you saw in the other illustrations, you know, usable and you know, feel like it's all 1 yard now, you know. And the more fill we take out, the more stairs here, the more, you know, it's definitely reasonable. And I actually had spoken to my client about that, you know, would you be opposed if we lowered the fill like 12 inches, you know, something like that. So instead of filling it 3.5 feet, we fill it, you know, 2.5. And you know, I'm just trying to come up with a happy medium of what Mike had you know, mentioned about that, and you know, really the usability of the yard without, you know, I mean, and really not affecting anyone else, whether it's 2.5 feet or 3.5. I mean, I don't really think that makes much of a difference. Because flow is not being affected, you know, and we're not affecting anybody else's property, really. So,
So would reducing the amount of fill affect any of the stormwater dynamics that you've been explaining to us?
you'd have to go down to almost nothing.
No,
And I don't think it would affect it even that.
it doesn't affect it from a stormwater perspective. And honestly, this is something that we actually discussed coming into this meeting, seeing all the concerns. And I think it's something that we can definitely take a look at and still accomplish something very similar, if that is the request. And I think
Yeah,
it's
I mean, let's, Mike, you sort of raised the issue, identified the problems. I'm interested in what your thoughts are.
So after reviewing the plans, I understand what the applicant is trying to do, and I'm sympathetic to what the applicant has here as far as the site. However, looking at the photos and looking at the fill, it becomes a planning question. You have a site right now that has a side yard that's relatively flat, you know, within reason, and you see in the pictures, adding 3 to 5 feet of fill is just basically going to raise that. So what are you really accomplishing by bringing in 200 yards of fill, let's say? And that's a planning issue for the board to discuss. You know, can you build a wall? Can you regrade this potentially? I think there are other approaches, and I've been in conversation with the applicant's engineers and landscape architect, and we've been tossing ideas around. But ultimately, it's up to the applicant to decide what they want to submit. So with regards to sheet flow, things of that nature, Mr. Ketchpoli had shown earlier the arrows. Sheet flow flows perpendicular to contour lines, okay? So as you see in red here, your sheet flow flows perpendicular to the adjacent yards. So this is properly depicted. That's what the grading shows.
Where
So
are the boulders on that?
Uh,
Just looking at, it's that staircase
It-
right there?
Yeah, this area, this slope here is the boulder wall area. Right.
So in that area are basically two jogs or steps in transition.
Yeah, I show it in a cross section actually a little bit more accurately. So
Right there, yeah.
right.
So
this
if you look
is-
at the cross section here, in essence, if you look at the proposed grade and what's existing, you're basically just elevating it 5 to 8 feet, or you know, 3 to 5 feet. And that's a planning question for the board to determine, you know, just raising it that amount, what's the purpose, and is that a benefit to the neighborhood, to the property? Can what the applicant wants to achieve, can that be done by maybe putting in a small retaining wall at the bottom of the retaining wall, maybe leveling off on the left side where you have the 0.60, leveling that area off maybe, and doing a cut and fill where you have the 0.80, maybe leveling that a little bit, and achieving a 0 grade change at the property line, or maybe a slight grade change. I mean, you gotta do some math here, but I don't think that would be as extreme. I think that may alleviate some of the concerns of the neighbors. However, from the neighbor's perspective, existing topography is going that way naturally. Okay, so to redirect everything to the road, you know, then you're gonna start overwhelming the drainage system in the road. You balance that. When you level off a property, you slow down your flow. Your coefficient of runoff decreases at that point. So you're basically giving that rainwater more time to percolate and absorb into the ground.
I was gonna say, isn't it a good thing to have more fill for runoff there?
Not the fill, it's the topography, the levelness.
But you're giving the rain, if you fill that so it's a slope, wouldn't you be giving the runoff more time to seep into the ground?
You're basically following the same slope as is there now. So if you look at that elevation, it's basically almost the same angle. So if you flattened it, you would, in essence, do a net reduction. It might be minimal. I mean, you gotta do the math, but, you know, I mean, the question the board needs to ask, what's being accomplished by adding 3 to 5 feet of fill here from a planning perspective? Is that beneficial to this area?
Well, I mean, look, when you look at the statute, which sort of is supposed to guide our thinking about this, it says minimum disturbance, you know, that whatever disturbance, to avoid the steep slopes, if it's not practicable to not have to deal with steep slopes at all, and you have to create steep slopes, then such disturbance should constitute the minimum disturbance necessary to ensure the property owner a reasonable use of their property. And, you know, the way I interpret it is that it's pretty minimal. I mean, whatever needs to be done in order to make the property reasonably useful. Now, adding fill may address certain, you know, aesthetic concerns maybe, or concerns that the applicant has in making sort of just an aesthetically more, you know, flowing property, but it's not really addressing the reasonable use of the property. I mean, there's, if there's a possibility of taking fill out and not changing the incline or leveling it off, it sounds to me, it's basically what I'm understanding from you, Mike, is that it's not the amount of fill, it's the topography, is how level things are. If things are level, then the dynamics of the stormwater management system will be effective in reducing, you know, runoff. The extra fill sounds to me to be more of an aesthetic thing, so that there's more of a flow from one part of the property to another part of the property. But it's the leveling that makes the property reasonably useful. It's not the transition from one part of the property to the other. If you have to go down a stair or something like that to be able to use the property, that's not an inhibition to the reasonable use of the property. And that's where if I have to come down on this, is that there needs to be less fill. Now, I think there certainly can be a compromise on this, and I think that obviously I don't want to change the underlying dynamics of what's going on now, because I think you really made an effort to try to address the neighbors' concerns about runoff. But in a couple of the letters and a couple of the comments, the amount of fill that is being used has been commented on. But I think that the reason why that's a problem is that you're not using the fill in order to create a level topography. You don't need that much fill to do what is necessary to make that part of the property reasonably useful to the applicant. And that's sort of like, at least where I come down on it. And I'm interested in what my colleagues think about this, because I'm only one of 4. My vote doesn't count any more than anyone else's does. So does anyone want to weigh in on this?
I mean, I'd like to read that language.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really good analysis.
Can I hear from you guys, the experts for the applicant, a response to that? I mean, what is the reasonable
Use the
use?
microphone, sorry.
What is, because I'm a believer of, the reasonable use of a person's property should probably be up to the person whose property it is, right? It's pretty, I do believe in that. So is there a counter to that it's an unreasonable use? Or, excuse me, is there the chairman is posing that it is not using it reasonably to put in this much fill. What is the counter to that?
Do I need to go up there?
Yep. Come on up. You're the applicant?
I'm the applicant.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
I haven't been here. I have 3 kids under 4. It's really hard to get childcare.
Yeah.
So I think for us, I guess reasonable is kind of like subjective. There's a lot of boulders, a lot of stone, a lot of steep cliffs. Like I said, we have 3 kids under 4, a lot of falling down going on. So for us to have something that doesn't have a door that opens even close to get to it, and you have to go down multiple stairs, it's not that reasonably useful for us. It's really not aesthetic for us. I actually think it looks great right now. It's really about use, what we're trying to do here, and make it a useful yard for our kids, and one that's accessible from our house and not feel like a park that we have to walk downstairs to get to. Like, it's really far down right now.
So how many stairs or much of a drop will be eliminated by your plan with this fill?
At least 8 or 9, 8 stairs, 9 stairs.
Well, it's, I could tell you exactly. So if it's 10 feet right now.
That seems reasonable to me.
There's like 18 steps currently. And, proposing, all 18 are in one location. And then we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. However, they're shallower, so they're like,
Can you show a picture of what it looks like the stairs look like now?
Like a
if I actually,
No, just a picture of what it looks like to come down.
yeah, let me see if I have it better. Looks like I literally.
I mean, if we're gonna examine what's reasonable, I think this is important to look at, is what is in the applicant's mind
Yeah,
eye.
So the best I can, I guess, do here is, it's literally the natural rock that you see for the wall embedded into the hillside to create steps, but they're, this way, that way. It looks like it hasn't been touched in a very long time, but that's what it is. It's natural boulders embedded into the hill.
Oh, I'm ready to vote.
I agree. So what do you think?
I'm ready to vote.
Same.
Do you have one, Dave? You have one up the stairs or no?
I mean, I'd like to hear from the gentleman over here too.
Yeah.
He had something to say.
Yeah,
Yeah, first things first.
yeah, come up,
Just hop up there and
yeah,
use the
come
mic,
up to
sorry.
the microphone if you would, state your name and address, and,
Sure. My name is Colin McCreath, 804 King Street. So I have the property adjacent to her property. First of all, welcome to the neighborhood. I'm sorry that we're meeting like this. I love kids. You guys are going to have a great time at Rybrook, so congratulations on the move. Again, I don't want to deter what you're trying to do. I'm for it. I just want to just make sure that my concerns are met, right? And so, I'm just curious as to the distance. No, so the distance from here to here just seems like it's more than 3 to 5 feet, right? So, from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, this entire area, right? So it's about 5 or 6 feet. It's going to be filled, right?
At that location, yeah.
4 feet.
It's 4 feet?
4 foot max.
Okay, 4 feet. And so my concern is just that, so my property is here, right?
Sorry, hold on. Let me get a better.
Yeah.
Actually, the grading plan will probably be better. So, go ahead.
Yeah, so my property is here. So at the bottom here, so the steps are here, so at the bottom of the steps is actually where my basement window is. So if that entire area is coming up 4 feet, so I assume there's gonna be a retaining wall there.
Yes.
So I'm just concerned that water's gonna flow off of the retaining wall directly into the basement. So, if you pull up the picture, you can actually see, I think you had.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about that, maybe.
See, this is the window, and steps would be equivalent to being right here. I'm just afraid that the water's just gonna come into the window.
That sounds like a legit concern to me.
Right, so that's the runoff that I was,
Yeah, I can speak to that. We actually looked at that in depth. So, this is also another picture, facing the same direction except a different angle. So this one is facing his rear yard, and then this is, and then this is taking like a step back and facing
King Street.
yeah, toward King Street.
and so the distance from here to the steps, is that, 40 feet or, distance?
From the property line, or?
Yeah, from the property.
So from the property line to the steps is about 11 feet, a little less, 10'8". This is the steps here in light gray in the back. You can kind of see like the ladder looking, you can see this, these are the existing steps here. So from the property line, it's actually more, so I didn't snap correctly. It's actually like 12 feet. So it's 12 feet to the property line.
Is there a regulation against doesn't it have to be 40 feet, the distance between the work being done and
No distance requirement.
no distance?
That's first, yeah, structures maybe.
So anyway, so that's my one concern. So all I'm saying, so what my request was is the water that's coming down, and as you can see, all the arrows are pointing directly to my window, right? It's the basement window. And I already have 2 sump pumps going, and when it rains, those sump pumps are going all the time. So
Hold on, 1 second, I'm sorry. Are you able to explain what those arrows are? Right to the black ones, just clarification?
Yeah, that's the proposed slope at that specific.
That's not the direction where the water's going, so I just want you to understand,
there-
that's not that.
There is a, in reply to my letter, there was a series of, blue and, red arrows, and so that showed the runoff. If you could pull that up, I could kind of show you.
Blue and red arrows.
It's in response to my, to the letter. Spread it out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This one, but further down.
Oh, it's on my plan sheet? On my plan?
It was in that document that you had, but it's just further down.
Oh, the one that I just pulled up.
Yeah, scroll down.
Maybe it's the one that you wrote.
Yeah.
So this?
Yeah, scroll down. Oh, it didn't have it, it was,
Do you have a diagram?
Picture?
It's something that I did?
so it was this picture.
Oh, yeah, why isn't that on there? Okay.
So, this shows this was in response to one of my questions. So, it's hard to see, I could give it to you, but
Do you have a microphone for the gentleman?
Yeah, let me see.
Yeah.
I don't know if it works with the podium not working, I don't know.
it's this in the meeting,
Yeah, why don't we just wait for it just a second?
Mics?
Want to get your microphone, sir, so you can be picked up.
Maybe it got, I don't know why it didn't show. Can I see it?
Oh, was it in Mike's, what is it in Mike's response?
it was in Mike's
Mike, it's in your, it's in Mike's memo
Oh, you're
response.
talking about my
It's
memo.
this.
oh, yeah, it's from you.
Is it this?
So,
Is it the green and red?
yeah, the
Yes,
green and red.
red.
So I tried to just illustrate what, to the board, what was existing flow and what was the Mind if I borrow that?
Yeah.
Thank
Existing flow is
you.
the,
It's black and white.
the existing flow is the green arrows.
So on the diagram that I submitted, I tried to show,
Put it up here, it's right.
I tried to show to the board so the board can understand what the existing flow was versus what the proposed flow is. And
Send me
I
an
believe the
email.
green was existing, red was proposed. And on that diagram, the flow is very similar to that back right corner of the property.
Sorry.
So-
Don.
Should be on the agenda.
But this is the October one, that's why.
No.
Search.
No, it should be one of the blue.
While he's pulling that up, Mr. I'm gonna butcher your name. Cashavoy. I wanna say, yeah. You were saying something about you looked at this. You looked at.
Mr.
his-
McCready.
Okay,
Can I just show the existing and the proposed? So just to show. Existing is green, I read it.
that's fine.
Just to show where it's going, it's going already.
Here it is.
Doesn't define it.
So,
I always look at.
so this is, so the green is existing, the red is proposed, right? See, I already have a lot of runoff to my.
You got a lot of
property.
green.
Yeah, a lot of green, and then now just the red. And again, my basement window is here, actually right here, where all the reds are. And that's really my biggest concern, so I was asking for some type of system here that's gonna basically bring the stormwater off to.
Right, so, we looked at it, I went to the site, and I actually took these pictures so that I could talk about this. So, this here is like a natural stone boundary, really. It seems like it's delineating the boundary line, because it is on the survey, it shows this on the property line. And it's actually a high point between the properties, which is what was also one of the reasons why we didn't build the wall so close to the property line, so that we can maintain a distance from the property line, and the existing contours would remain the same, so that even if he did have a concern that water was going to somehow increase in that direction, it will hit that, it's actually a 6-foot buffer between the property line and, let me see, I dimensioned it here, so it's 6 feet, right? It'll hit this buffer, and it'll continue to flow exactly how it always has. This is gonna be a high point, and, this is the proposed wall. This is the boulder lining that I showed in my picture, and it serves as a barrier between. And when you actually go out there and look, you could see where the water goes. The water flows in this general direction, which is why I drew these arrows. It goes around this shed. The home at Two Little Kings is kind of over here. It is subtle. It's not like, you know, it's not very slopey, but you could tell that the house is higher than the grade in between the shed and the house in this vicinity. So the water is flowing today, is flowing this way, out kind of in between Mr. McCreath's property and Two Little Kings, and then out toward King Street. So it currently flows like that in this 6-foot wide buffer toward the same direction that it always has, the same direction that the runoff from the property is going to continue to flow. And that's one of the reasons why we built the wall so far off the property line, in addition to preserving the tree, was so that it maintained the flow path that it always has. And that's pretty common practice when you're...
Did you do any like HydroCAD from with the perspective of his close house and his basement with the slope?
And that was one of my asks as well. So, because if the HydroCAD shows like it does from Messina, then I'm happy with that, right?
I mean, that sounds reasonable. If he says he's
Right.
happy with it.
Fine. I think that's a good way to address it.
It's just that what Mr. Novak showed and what's being shown here are two different things. Right?
I think his was more general in like just the general direction of flow, but if you actually analyze what's happening, the proposed contours are stopping here. So once runoff gets through the wall or past this location, it'll hit these contours, and it's not flowing. This isn't like, rapids. This is just water that will hit this, and then it'll start to change direction and come this way and do what it always has and flow out toward.
How do you know it's not flowing that way?
Which one?
More towards my property.
Because this, if you take a look at the boulder lining on your property line, it sits at a high point. So it's actually acting as a barrier between you and Four Little Kings. And I tried to depict that in my photo.
Does boulder stop water from coming that way?
Well, it's sitting.
Does it stop?
Right, good point. I think what I meant to say is that it's actually sitting on a high point. So the boulders itself are sitting on top of a high point that prevents the water from coming to your property. And honestly, I'm going to revert back to even to the beginning, and that's the fact that right now there is currently grass in the side yard. What we're proposing is going to be grass as well. And any of the additional impervious surfaces plus what's existing will be captured. So there is impervious surfaces increase runoff, slope increases runoff, and curve number, the characteristics of the soil, can increase runoff. So if we're capturing all the impervious surfaces, we're not changing the slope, and it's clean fill, which is specified on my plan. We're not increasing runoff, and that'll be shown on the HydroCAD report that we provide also.
So you'll provide that report?
Yeah, I think it's
Okay.
fairly easy.
I mean, if that's going to clear up this issue and allow this to go forward, I would think that's a reasonable solution,
So,
especially if he's
just for clarity, are you gonna perform HydroCAD on this property, or are you gonna go perform it on 804?
No, we're gonna do it on our property to show that the flow to the property line abutting Mr. McCreath's property is equal to or less than, which I'm sure it's gonna be less than the pre-existing conditions.
You okay with that, Mr. McCreath? You understand what he's doing? Because I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page.
No,
He's not coming onto your property to perform a hydrocat. He's performing hydrocat on the applicant's property going towards your property line. He's not coming to your property.
No, that wouldn't make sense to me.
I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah.
I want it done on my property, so just to make sure my property is okay.
Well, it's in essence the same thing, because when you're analyzing, we're trying to analyze the effects of our construction on you. So,
So if it's the same thing, then it should be.
right, I mean, I just want to explain it quickly. So we're analyzing what our proposal is going to do to you in terms of runoff. Is it going to increase runoff? Is it going to remain the same? So we need to analyze it from the perspective of our lot, how it is today, what is the volume of water that flows to you today, and then what is the volume of water that's going to flow to you after we do our
Yeah.
construction.
Yeah, I mean, I think that sort of makes
That's why I wanna
sense.
make sure everybody's on the
That
same
seems to
Yeah.
make sense to me.
That's
Like,
it.
it's
The problem
yeah.
with doing this sort of analysis on a neighbor's property is that the dynamics in that property could be different. The water could be coming from different places.
But so long as the way they build it doesn't increase
As
the
long as-
flow
right, as
to
long
your
as we know
property.
what's flowing from your property, that's the point.
Right.
Because neighbors, particularly in Rye Brook, considering the dynamics of water around here, water is affecting a lot of properties in different ways. The question that we as a board have to deal with is the applicant's property creating problems, objectively creating problems? And a lot of analysis seems to have been done on that. A lot of engineering has been done on this. I think that there's been an effort, particularly as part of the public hearing, to try to mitigate as much as possible on the neighbor's property. But we can't speak for other properties in the area. There may be different dynamics that affect, how those properties are being impacted by, the underground water conditions, the storms. No property, doing stormwater management on one property is not going to solve all the problems that our residents have in this village. It's just not gonna happen. If you can do the analysis on the property, near the neighbor's property, I think that would be sufficient, at least from the board's standpoint.
So one of the asks as well is just to put some type of swale or something here to mitigate if there is runoff that it will be taken to the street.
Well, I think that's been taken into consideration, right?
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, I don't see we can pronounce like a swale in here to help bring it where it always has flowed, but I don't really want to affect the other guy either. I think it's better to just leave it the way it is today.
But then
honestly.
we're
My
putting
only
in more
concern with
fill.
doing a swale, with a swale, you're actually removing a little bit of fill and making
making
a
a channel.
depression.
Right.
Correct, but like Mr. Ketchpoli was saying, now you're channeling that flow to an adjacent property.
Yeah, no.
Our code does not require sheet flow to be captured or mitigated under our code for stormwater.
But isn't that
Okay.
what you're doing up here with the Caltech system?
No, the Caltech system under our code is required to capture runoff from all impervious surfaces, basically blacktop, the roof, walkways, patios, anything hard that water can't get through. That's what you're capturing in a 25-year storm event. That right now is basically going onto lawn and sheet flowing wherever it's going. Okay, so you're basically taking that, capturing it, holding it, letting it absorb in the ground. That's your net reduction that Mr. Ketchpoli is explaining in the HydroCAD, where you went from 0.86 cubic feet per second to 0.61 cubic feet per second.
Not me, but the business.
No, from the property. Don't look at it, your property, her property. Look at it as a whole. It's from a property, from the site. Doesn't matter which way it's going, it's a net reduction in all ways where it's flowing, it's a net reduction in all 4 ways.
I mean, it sounds like if you do the CAD, which shouldn't be that much work,
Yeah,
right?
I can do the design about your property line to show that, right, what's flowing to you right now and what will be flowing to you post-construction. I can show that specifically. I mean, you can, after I do the analysis, you can probably ask me anything you want. I think that'll probably help clear it up, but pretty much you analyze the direction of flow currently today using the contours, and the direction that it's flowing is perpendicular to the contours. And then post-construction, how are the contours positioned, and where is the water going to end up? Is it going to end up in the same place? Is it the same amount of impervious flowing to your property as was previously? Those are all the characteristics, and others that we consider.
Right, and what we're gonna base the walls will do so that we don't have any water fishing forces.
We can consider that, yeah, in the redesign, yeah. What he's mentioning is, what he's talking about is, if we make this 10 inches or 12 inches higher, then these contours start to flow in line with the pre-existing conditions a little bit more. So that's something that I can look at in the redesign.
We should do the test and let's see what
Yeah, I think let's do the test and see, because
Because if it's not, if the water isn't, if there isn't more water coming to your property now,
Yeah, I agree.
after if assuming his model is correct, which I have to assume it is, right? If it shows that there's not more water coming to your property post-construction world, then hopefully that will alleviate your concern.
I mean, the problem with making all these shifts to try to address each neighbor is that it's going to change the dynamics of what they're trying to do, which is to capture impervious surface runoff on the property. And we're afraid, it's kind of like the whack-a-mole. It's like if you're trying to address one issue, another issue may be more aggravated by that. And I think that puts the applicant in an impossible position. I mean, we want to make sure, the bottom line from our perspective, and I'm speaking for my colleagues, but I think they would agree with me, is that the bottom line is whether or not what the applicant is proposing as their project is going to have that the impact is going to be at least what existed prior to the construction, or better. And by all accounts, the engineering seems to be in the direction of trying to improve the whole system on the property and as a whole. So it's not going to solve a lot of problems that neighbors have, but at least this property is probably not going to contribute to those problems, because the engineering is really being designed to capture as much of the water as possible. I think the applicant has been, in my opinion, operating in good faith in this respect, has been trying to address some of the most significant concerns. And my understanding, Mike, in your review is that they've done that in an adequate way, that their system will capture whatever extra runoff is caused by the impervious surface, by the patio, by the other structures that are being put up there. And that's all that one can reasonably ask an applicant to do.
I agree with that. That's really good.
Yeah, but we're gonna make sure.
Who's the engineer in this case, right? I mean, and how do we verify that what's being depicted is accurate?
I mean, you have every right to take his report after he gives it and give it to your own expert if that's something you want to do. Look, I have to believe this is an applicant and an engineer that comes before us all the time. I've never heard of a challenge of.
And
I'm not challenging, I'm just
Right,
asking,
it-
how do you verify all that?
everybody has the right to their own advocate. I get it.
I verified the percolation tests. I was on site when they did the perk test, so I witnessed them. Calculations are standard based on Westchester County and based on engineering methodology and practices. It's all standard engineering. There are 2 or 3 areas where, don't take it the wrong way, certain people may play with numbers, which we're all familiar with. They're not doing that. The number one is coefficient of runoff, okay, for pre and post. He's using the proper number. So,
Is that for 25 years?
25-year storm, which is what's required by our code.
Right.
They're not
Well, if-
required for anything bigger than, they're not required to design for anything bigger than a 25-year storm. So yes, he's
But-
designing for a 25-year storm. Based on soil conditions, percolation, may the system handle more? It's possible. But they're not gonna be held to that standard.
Right.
So just understand that.
And your, I don't know, understanding based on the perk tests is that it's possible that this system actually can capture more than a 25-year storm.
Yeah, the HydroCAD report actually shows that, right?
Right.
That it captures more.
Right.
I've got one last question, but why not just mitigate it? What about a curtain drain, maybe not a swale, but just a curtain drain along that area, just to?
I think the system is designed to take the impervious surface. When you introduce a curtain drain to capture surface runoff, you are now increasing the volume of water going to the system. And it's not designed for that. It's only designed for the impervious surfaces.
Right.
One of the concerns in just adding a trench drain like that is that now you start introducing any illicit groundwater, and now you're dumping that into the tanks. Now, when a storm comes, those tanks are handling the groundwater from a certain area of the property. They're 20, 30% full. Now, storm comes, you just lost that 20, 30% capacity. That's why sometimes capturing the groundwater, directing it into a dry well, it's not necessarily advised. Other locations, if there was someplace to discharge or daylight, maybe, but that's up to
Yeah.
the professional to determine.
Yeah.
One last thing, it seems like there's gonna be a lot more impervious surfaces here, right? And you already said like the water's facing, it's going that way. I mean, maybe we'll see from the HydroCAD, but I mean, it just seems to me there has to be some type of mitigation. I mean, if
Well, we'll
it's
see how much-
My basement is gonna go into the well.
But right now they have no system on the property, and they're gonna put in a system in for the entire impervious area, not just the additional. So I think it's,
Right, they're gonna,
It's all impervious.
it's,
right, the entire, as if they built the house brand new, they're putting in a system for that.
so it'll be better for impervious afterwards than it is now, currently. But I think you have a valid, you raised a valid concern. It's clear that it's right there. Let's see what the test shows.
Right. And really the last issue, I mean, we'll come to a vote next month on this, because I want you to do the test and just,
I think
address
he's
that.
been itching at the bit.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, come on up.
Use the mic. Sorry.
Sure. Yeah.
Come over, Greg.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all yours. Watch the cord.
I apologize for technical difficulties.
We again, the fill is sloping. My name is Philip Grimaldi. I was here at the last meeting. I represent Rita Messina, the owner of 2 Little Kings. But again, the fill is,
Two Little Kings is
It's on the right.
on the right. Okay.
yeah. So, or it's also known as 808 King. It's, if you're looking from the street, I'm on the left side. We're on the left side. The fill in the side yard, I think there was a comment that the pitch won't change, but it's sloping down towards our property, and we're just not convinced that with the boulders there, that's a lot of fill, that those boulders are going to hold that dirt there. And, the grade, as I said, the grade is changing, and we also spoke to an engineer, and he felt that, the Cultec's going to drain out to the street right on the corner of the property. and that could cause an issue with my client's driveway if the water streams down from the pop-ups and the Coltex. He felt that was an issue. He also felt that there should be some kind of swale running along, before this wall or these boulders that could capture the water and take it out into the street. He felt that, in any heavy rain, not just a 25-year, that there could be issues here. And those were his comments. And Miss Messina might want to retain an engineer herself to go over everything. And also, looking at those boulders, they're higher than 30 inches. I mean, there's going to be dirt on top of that, and aesthetically, it kind of doesn't really look right, and it's going to be right up against her shed there. And I know we had started this with somebody saying, well, what's the minimum that we could do, the minimum amount of fill to achieve the purposes. And I do a fair amount of zoning work, and people come and they sometimes they buy a house on a substandard lot, and they say, well, we want to make it bigger, but we need a lot coverage variance, we need a side yard variance, we need a rear yard variance. And my point is that you buy a house subject to certain limitations, and now you're trying to get the best of both worlds. You're trying to have your cake and eat it too. You saw what the limitations were, and again, I understand the point that they don't have like a contiguous backyard and side yard, but you buy a house with certain limitations, and those are the limitations.
There's no zoning variance that's stopping them from doing
Well,
that.
I'm not saying. I'm just making an analogy. I don't say that, but they're again, my client feels it's gonna.
Well, I mean, my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, the issue with the fill is the fact that there's like 3 to 5 feet of fill, is that changing the dynamics of where the water is going in the property based on the stormwater management system that's been developed? Or I mean, is the concern relating to water flow, or is it the concern relating to the fact, you seem to be suggesting that because of the extra fill, the boulders are sort of, there's an they're imperiled of either falling out of place or creating unsort of dam, but it's the pressure of the extra fill against the boulders that is of concern to you.
That's a concern of ours, as well as again, what the engineer basically said. Our engineer is that the pop-ups in the Coltex could drain onto our property, especially in the front.
That's a separate issue.
Well, again, I wanted to bring up all the issues,
Well, I know,
but yes, but yeah, that is an issue that we don't, just looking at it, it just doesn't seem that the integrity of those boulders might be compromised or something.
I mean, that's that's sort of
Are
an
we talking
engineering
about the
issue.
boulders that are now the steps?
No. I'm talking about the
Boulders on
proposed
property
ones
line?
that he's going to do on the property line that are going to be right on our property line. And again, the
So you're
point.
concerned the pressure from the fill is going to knock the boulders?
Yeah, that's one of our
In
concerns.
a rainstorm.
In a rainstorm.
The extra fill. is
over
going to
years or something.
dislodge. I don't know, again, that's an engineering, applicant, do you have any response to that?
Don't create Indiana Jones in Rybrook now.
I mean, a 2.5-foot boulder weighs like 1,000 plus pounds, maybe 1,500 pounds. It's impossible for it to move in a rainstorm.
So you're utilizing boulders of 2 to 3 foot diameter.
Right.
You're not utilizing boulders 8 to 10
2 to
inches
2.5.
or like regular landscape wall type. You're using boulders of 2 to 3 foot caliber,
Right. And then there's
which
grass.
is pretty substantial.
And it's constructed with fabric. There's also
And the board
fabric
approved
behind it.
many walls, boulder walls,
Right.
for jobs I've done in this town. I mean, it's not an issue.
Yeah, and with respect to the Caltex, wherever they drain,
Well, I mean, you're more than welcome to have an engineer review my HydroCAD report. I think that addresses his concerns, it evaluates the current slope today and the way that the water flows to the property line today versus the new slope that we're proposing and how it's gonna flow post-construction. So, I think I think you need to review the calculations to confirm that another engineer agrees that there's either a net reduction or equal, or it's the same as it was pre-construction, or prove that it's not.
yeah, I think, the only issue I have, and this is gonna be adjourned until next month, and then we're gonna complete it. And if applicants want to get, and not applicants, if neighbors want to get their own engineers to review, that's up to them. We'll provide them, and I'm sure the applicant will provide them whatever information they want. I mean, as right now, it seems to the board that the applicant has done everything they can within the requirements of the code to make their project work. I don't think their project is an unusual project. I think the dynamics of the property, requires them to have done extra work to address a lot of concerns. I think they've sort of done that, but you are welcome to, raise issues.
That was my point. I guess when I saw the engineer's memo, he said, there could be an alternative without using all this fill. And, Mr. Chairman, you seem to be going that way. My point is, bringing up the variances was you buy a property with certain limitations, and
That's true, but
you know-
my colleague has raised an interesting point that is not addressed by the code, which is what reasonable use of a property means.
And that can change.
And that's something that we have to, I'm on the fence with it, but can be persuaded by it, because I do not want to be cavalier about this and simply say, well, minimum is minimum, and the property owner is left with a property that, theoretically can be used, but actually presents some dangers, which I want to try to mitigate as well as part of this whole process.
And again, I understand that, but when you talk about reasonable use, again, my point, somebody wants to build a bigger house and whatever, but there's certain limitations.
But
Now,
you're bringing up things that are within code, right? Like,
Right.
meaning there is a statute or a code that you're asking for a variance from. That's not what this applicant's
I
doing.
understand that, but again, there's certain limitations, and my client is concerned that it's going to adversely impact her because there's whatever it was, 400 cubic yards of fill that's going in there, and
Right.
I just
Well, no,
think
look,
it's something
I
that's significant.
I
And
don't want to make light of your concerns, but I also want to come to closure on this application. We're not going to come to a vote tonight. We're going to come to a vote next month.
Okay.
You have until next month to have an engineering report prepared and submitted in advance of the meeting that either agrees, disagrees, proposes different, whatever. We will entertain that. But as I understand, all the evidence that's been submitted so far is that what the applicant has proposed will not make whatever the dynamics are with the property worse as far as neighborly impacts are concerned, or probably will improve them. And I think that there are, in theory, no one knows what's going to happen. And there could be a 10,000-year storm that blows everything away. But as far as trying to anticipate things that would fall in within reason, I think the applicant has done what it can do within reason to mitigate whatever impacts can be foreseen. And I think that if you take issue with the engineering of this, we will certainly.
It's the engineering, it's the aesthetics too, somewhat.
That,
You have a
yeah.
jagged line of boulders.
Yeah. I mean, look, we have to come to a fine balance here between what impacts upon the community at large and the right of property owners to manage their own property. And no one is going to be completely happy about this, which probably means that it's right, that the homeowner has to make compromises and the neighbors have to make compromises.
Are you unhappy with the screening that's proposed?
Well, this is Rita's daughter. She lives there too, so maybe she could elaborate.
Just if I could let the board know that if someone's gonna retain an engineer and submit memos, we need them at least 2 weeks prior to any next meeting. So that only gives you about a week and a half, 2 weeks. So just be aware.
Engineer to comment on his report, can we see their report, give that to an engineer and have them comment on the assumptions that are built into that model?
I reviewed them as the village superintendent of public works and engineering. I've reviewed them. You're welcome to hire an engineer if you wanna hire an engineer and review them.
Engineer to build a model. He's already built it.
He could use his data and verify it. He could review it and verify it.
You can't review it until you build the model.
He submitted the model.
I submitted one model, but I'll submit an additional one to the rear property, right, and then he can review that to make sure that he either agrees or doesn't agree, and prove it a different way.
My point is, once he runs his model, he's built in assumptions. Seems to me we ought to be given a few weeks to take a look at his model and the assumptions, to have our own guy look at it.
Thing is too, Mr. Nowak's memo I just got yesterday, and again, he made like a point of there's an alternative, and so again, that came in at the last minute.
And I apologize because I was out.
Yeah, we picked up on that too, and again, so we'll let Angela Messina speak.
As I mentioned earlier, whatever alternatives may be there are up to the discretion of the board. I pointed out certain things.
Well, and the applicant.
Oh, well, yes, but
Yeah.
yes, I apologize. It's the applicant's discretion to submit a project, irregardless of what other options there are. I just highlighted there may be other ways of doing something, but ultimately the board is the one who's gonna make the decision based on the merits of the application.
Yeah, I mean, my view of this is that neighbors, if they want to have engineers review the data, they can do that. But as a board, I have my own experts, and my own experts I'm relying on. And I will be relying on them to make a determination on this application.
Because we'll listen.
Because we'll listen to you.
We will absolutely listen with an
Okay,
open mind.
but
They could debate.
Right.
But this can go on for a while, and I don't want it to go on for a while. And I don't think that what you're suggesting is that the engineering is somehow faulty in this. That's what you're suggesting, which is okay. But, I mean, I'm gonna be relying on the village engineering staff in reviewing the engineers of the applicant. And, you guys have been welcome from the beginning to hire your own engineers if you take issue with what the engineering has been for this
I
project.
understand that. I was an engineer. I built computer models, and I understand.
use the microphone, please?
Yeah, please, come up.
So, I know enough to know that the output from a computer model is dependent on the input. And until we see his input, we can't comment on it.
Unless he wants to give
look
us
at
the
this.
data, and then we can try to find
Well,
some
I don't think he's adverse to giving you the data.
It's been submitted. I mean,
Yeah, the data's there, right? Yeah, the data's of record, I
yeah,
believe.
it is. It's on the.
Yeah.
So in the HydroCAD that has been submitted, the data is in there. His analysis,
electronic version of that?
he-
It's
It's
posted
right-
on
it's
the, posted
It's
on
the village website.
here's a
that's-
PDF version where your professional can take that data and they could enter it and verify it.
All right, well, then maybe that's what we'll do. But I
I have another question, perhaps. I'm not an expert in statute reading, but as I read section 217-9C2, it says for new residential construction and/or renovations or additions to existing homes on individual lots, stormwater management shall be designed for total volume storage, in quotes, in which all runoff shall be captured from all impervious surfaces and directed to an on-site catchment system. Okay, that's there. But it then carries on, it says, with no discount or consideration to pre-development conditions. So this is saying, as I read it, and you guys are the experts, so maybe I'm misreading it, it doesn't really matter what the pre-existing condition is. The current one has to be up to snuff. So the idea that it's improving what was there before, according to the way I read this, doesn't matter.
So earlier, I mentioned about the coefficient of runoff. His coefficient of runoff for the entire site for the impervious is a 98, which is basically blacktop. That takes into consideration that that site was blacktop before this house was built in that volume. That is the most restrictive number you can take. Pre and post, no, I'm explaining to you. Pre and post development would be the existing lot is grass and the coefficient of runoff is a 72 versus a 98. What that relates to mathematically is almost a 50% reduction, and Mr. Ketchpoli would only be required to capture 2.54 inches of rain instead of 6.5 inches of rain. He's capturing 6.54 inches. 6.5 is a 25-year storm event. But if he were to take the credit for pre-development, that lot was entirely grass, he would only have to be capturing the difference. Our code doesn't allow that. You must capture all runoff. So he's capturing 6.5 inches in his calculations.
My other point was you asked for an updated model. I think that's great, but that seems to be on the other side. I'd like to see if he's going to run the model to have it address the runoff towards my property as well. I assume that's something you can do.
Yes, that would see what
Okay.
All right.
If that's not a problem,
It's pretty, once you're there, it's pretty,
okay. Let's do it then.
Okay. I'm Angela. I'm at 2 Little Kings Lane. And I want to first express that we are very grateful and very, as my mom had expressed in her letter, that with regard to the openness and just to alleviate some of our concerns. What I do want to just bring up is that regarding the engineer, they, just as far as an overall with the plans that you had, just to, have an overall look, that's what the attorney was referring to. However, I noticed in Mr. Novak's response, which I just got before I got here, there was something with regard to lowering the Cultec, a couple of the top of it, a feet, because that was one of the concerns that I noticed on the plans that you had, was that the property our property line was elevation of 170, and the Cultec was at 170.
Bottom's at 170.
Right, and the Cultec came to 172, so bringing that lower, I think, would help.
Can I just answer that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
the Coltec requirements are that your system has to be 1/3 into the existing soils. So I made sure that I met that requirement. I actually made a diagram because I had a feeling that this was going to come up.
Looks like we're blank.
There's your diagram on the TV.
Oh,
Oh,
Just check the table on the side, Craig.
Here come the boulders.
so
Is it up?
I don't like the technology getting us in the way.
there we go. All right.
Was your suggestion to turn it off and turn it back on again?
alright, well, So basically, this is a cross-section of the Coltex here. If you look at the proposed stormwater plan, the bottom elevation of the proposed Coltex is 170, the bottom of the gravel. The existing grade in here is 172. 172. So if you look at the cross section, the whole total depth from top of gravel to bottom of gravel is 3.5 feet and a half inch. And so therefore, and the existing grade is at 172. So if the bottom is at 170, then 2 feet out of the total 3.5 is in the existing grade, which is actually greater than a third. However, I don't see a problem with dropping it. I mean, it's not, I don't think it's, I'm not opposed to that, but it is in conformance with the requirements, and I just wanted to make that point. But I'm not opposed to making it lower.
And I spoke to Mr. Kitchpolly about that, and it was just an extra measure of belts and suspenders just to make sure that we don't get any issues with horizontal infiltration. So, and he was willing to do that.
Okay, yeah, so I think, thank you. And another thing that I just wanted to bring up was that the applicant was so gracious, and we saw what was going on as far as the landscaping, and just a couple of things that I just wanted to check with. Okay, first thing, I know you mentioned in the beginning of the meeting regarding the proposed, regarding easements, okay? And you guys are in charge of that, I know. But what I wanted to bring up was that those boulders right on the, where the easement is, with the amount of soil that being brought in and those plantings, would the weight of that cause any problem with the easement as far as the weight, any kind of settling, or if it's too heavy, could it crack anything? I don't know, any of the pipes, do you know what I mean?
I get the sense that the boulders are serious boulders. I mean,
Well, I
they're,
think she's referring to the fact that.
She's worried it's gonna crush the
underground
pipe.
Will it crush the pipe, but we're not going on top of the pipe.
No, but this is a precast. This is a concrete structure. This isn't a
Well,
pipe.
that's, yeah.
And it's a culvert, so it's heavy duty. This isn't just a normal plastic
right, it's
pipe
not gonna,
underground.
it's
This
not
is a
gonna
very
collapse under,
substantial-
right.
It's a substantial structure.
Are you able to explain the cone of influence onto a structure in an easement to just so everybody understands that?
Yeah, I mean, so basically from, how can I say this? Let me use my cross section. So this is supposed to depict a boulder at the property line, right? And the load, the weight of the boulder is distributed in a 45-degree angle, right, in each direction. But the weight isn't even significant enough to even describe, but this is the way a load is distributed underground. So the culvert being, I think we measured it last time, it was like 15 feet, I think, off of the property line, or the easement, I'm sorry, the center line of the easement, being 15 feet off the property line. It's something that I could quickly show that the zone of influence, it doesn't affect it, but it's very far away, and the load isn't even enough, Mike, to
No, I just wanted to explain that way
Right.
people understand how the loads
transfer.
relate into the ground.
Right, so, you know, it's something that maybe crossed my mind for like a half a second, but like it's not.
Okay,
This
okay,
is-
I just wanted to confirm, that's
Yeah.
what, you know. And another thing I wanted to ask, with regards to the renderings, I see that they're new renderings for the boulders and, okay. I see that they're level with the ground, and, if all that soil is being brought in, will, the soils, you mentioned 3 to 4 feet and then soil, and then the plantings. My question is, well, in your letter, you said the whole grade was going to be from the patio to the property line would be 10 feet. So my question is then, it almost seems like we're buried down, like in a hole. Do you know what I mean? Between the boulders, the soil, the plantings, there's 10 feet.
Over, back to the house, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, but not directly?
No,
No.
no.
Okay.
That's the total difference in height from the property line.
Patio to.
The patio.
Yeah,
That's
which
what
is
I mean.
about,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
six to
Because I
7
wasn't
feet.
sure after with those renderings, it looked like, because the house is lower, and it appeared that the boulders are right level.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
maybe it's perspective or something, but yeah, just right at your property line is only
That's the boulders,
the
and then.
boulders, a little bit of soil with the plants in there, yep. And it's actually gonna look really nice, I mean, it's gonna be nice and mulched and.
Okay, and I have one more quick.
Okay, one more,
One more, and that's it, okay?
please.
Regarding, the pin oaks that are on the plans, just a suggestion that perhaps that could be looked at again, only because of the long-term maintenance and the acorns, bringing in squirrels, which bring ticks, that I thought that perhaps that, especially right behind the shed, that area, if that is going to be, 4 feet behind the shed, that.
You mean like using like a different species, like October glory maples or another native
Might be
species
a
that
better,
doesn't have
better
acorns?
option. Does it have acorns? Does it bring more squirrels, even for ticks, for children? It might not be the best idea. It might be, another, it might be a little bit better, as a thought.
Okay, we could definitely, I could talk to that with my client
Yes.
about that and, we could come up with something.
Okay.
Something native.
Yep,
You know what to do.
yep.
Yeah, if it's native, it'll
So you're on
work.
the other property.
Exactly.
All right,
Thank you.
all right, thank you for your comments. Okay,
One question, 2 seconds.
2 seconds, and that's,
Hydro tank analysis,
sorry, we
just give me a quick one.
you have to understand, this is for posterity.
I got
I
you.
mean, you want to have yourself heard,
You
right?
go eat and watch football.
I
I'm
know.
sorry.
Gotcha. Go ahead.
Just real quick, when the HydroCAD analysis comes back, right? Are you gonna have a look at it? Because I trust you, so if you say it's good, I'm not an engineer, but you're an engineer. If you say it's good, then
He's
it's
gonna email it to me. I
Okay.
will review it, and then if you want a copy of it, we'll send you a copy. Okay, so call me in a couple of days, in a day or two, or whatever. I mean, we're going into the weekend, so call me on Monday or Tuesday, and I'll send you a copy if I have it, and we'll go from there.
perfect. And if you could build the wall 10 inches higher, that'd be great.
Okay. All right, we're going to adjourn this till next month. There are a couple of modifications you're gonna make. And just as a final word for my members here on the issue of the fill, what's your thinking?
I'm okay with it.
The fill?
Yeah.
Like the proposed plan?
Well, no, that, the 3 to 5 feet of that is side
As
yard.
so long as the CADs come back clean, I'm good with it.
Same opinion.
Same.
All right.
That's fine.
Okay, well, there you go.
Now, I know there was a proposed site visit, that was voted on, is that
I don't think we voted on the site visit.
On the
I know it was mentioned in
I
your
think on the
letter.
11th it was voted on.
I mean, since we have another month, we can certainly, if the applicant is receptive, we can have a site visit, to take a look at the
I
property.
don't see a problem
I'd
with
rather
that.
look at the science, and the science is gonna tell me my answer.
I would agree.
So,
I would agree.
yeah,
I
just
need
need
the
the
math.
math.
Yeah.
Just give me the math.
Okay.
Can I just say that, I just want to say that we're going to make some revisions based on the conversations that had. I'll try and get it done as fast as possible so that people have time to react prior to next meeting. I won't wait till the last minute. So I would like if you look at the revisions and then comment, please.
All right,
Okay.
okay, thank you.
And if you guys do hire engineers, please get in the reports soon, because we will look at them. We will. But like, if you have a rebuttal, but just gotta get it in soon.
All right. All right, thank you all. Thank you for your time. Okay. Harold Court, are you here?
Can we make this real quick?
Yeah, can we make this quick? 'Cause my wife is right. I thought I'd be home by now.
If we have to adjourn, we'll adjourn.
Okay.
We may be able to get rid of this very
Okay,
quickly.
yeah.
But if not,
My kids have been home alone for half an hour. I thought I'd
okay.
be home by now, so.
okay. Where's the Blind Brook Club? Here?
Site visit.
Right. I sort of want to get to the chase of this because the landscaping plan that was sort of vetted, it was sort of a negotiation between the village and the enclave.
Right.
I went out there with our superintendent of public works, who's also an arborist, to take a look at what was going on. I understand what the problem is.
Yeah.
And I think that the landscaping plan that's proposed sort of made sense to me. It's going to take a while for things to become very lush and filled in, but for the most part, it's going to happen.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, we got a letter from your client a day ago, raising concerns about the landscaping plan. Unfortunately, our planner isn't here tonight, but I think she provided comments. Did you receive comments from her on your letter? Okay. Let me just find it here.
Copied on our submission, and I did not receive it.
Right. I mean, essentially, our issue is this, and you can come up and join the applicant here because I want to get you on the record. I think with this, because it was adjourned, I need a motion and a second to open up the public hearing on this.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry about that. So.
Motion.
Second.
All right, so go. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay.
Nah.
Nah, okay, all right. Now,
No.
now,
There we go, okay.
I think we understand what the Blind Brook Club's, issues are, but it still comes down to sort of practicality with this. I mean, the way it looks now, it doesn't look good. It looks like a lot of trees are gonna die. Everything is too clumped up. And I know that you want more screening. I saw the screening, by the way, as I understand it from Mike, those trees that are on your property in front of the enclave, in a couple of years, that's gonna be a canopy. Those trees are well placed such that there's enough room for them to grow into each other without obstructing their accessibility to light and other things. And that the recommendations to sort of change species and things that the Blind Brook Club's letter recommends, I mean, I'm just not convinced that it's the best way to go. So you're welcome to speak to that, because we want to address your concerns. I understand the enclaves issue. And by the way, this planning board approved that landscaping plan 10 years ago. And it's one of the few applications I've encountered where we've actually seen the ramifications of some of the landscaping plans that have been approved. And I'm not happy with the way we analyzed this like 10 years ago. I may have been on the board. I could be partly at fault for that. But the fact is, I don't want to be back here in 10 years because everything is overgrown and looks, quite frankly, unpleasant. So, given that, what's your response to all of this?
Would you like me to name and address for the record, or?
Sure,
Okay.
why not?
Daniel Conant, with an attorney with the law offices of Cody Fader, 445 Hamilton Avenue, White Plains. we agree and we see what has happened, it's, from our perspective, it's not clear what trees are to remain and what trees will be removed based on this plan. And that is our primary concern, that we can't tell based on this plan. You know, there's a number of, I tried to illustrate this in my non-landscape architect fashion in the exhibit I attached to my letter. But there are more trees existing that we're not sure if they will remain in place after this proposed landscaping amendment, and that's where we're concerned. Because if it's just a single row of, trees that have 2 to 3 or maybe even greater gaps, then, and these are slow-growing native trees, then
Right.
we,
It's the tree removal notes, I think, or whatever the jargon is in the code on this. And as I understand it, Judson, I think that your colleague, Jen, sort of spoke to this as to whether or not those sorts of notes and a tree removal plan were required outside of a context where there's actual construction, where you were building something. And if you were building something and you were taking down trees and putting up new trees, then you would need a tree removal plan. In this case, there's no construction going on. They're simply going in and taking trees and changing them up. My understanding is that a tree removal plan isn't required. Although, it's up really to the applicant whether or not there may be some compromise with this. Maybe there's a down and dirty way of indicating on the plans, what is going to be. I don't know. What do you think, Mike?
So this plan is being submitted not for any current work. This plan is to develop a standard for the future so that as these trees die off, there is a standard for the HOA to put back vegetation that will meet the requirements of what the site plan was. So as of right now, this plan is not to show, this plan is not expecting any trees to come down. There have been trees that came down because of the denseness of them. You have evergreens that could grow 40 feet wide that are planted literally 8 feet apart. Okay?
we understand.
Exactly. So
we've seen them, occasionally they're dying off
correct.
individually, and we are sympathetic to
Correct.
planting trees properly spaced.
So this application is moving forward so that we're not sitting here in a year saying, well, that homeowner or this area removed 8 trees and you're going to replant that with arborvitaes this big. No, this is the plan. This is what you're putting back. This is the spacing. That is it. There's no, well, I want a pin oak. That's what's going back. That's for the HOA to protect them, to protect your client, protect the village. That way, that's the approved landscaping plan. So that was the goal of this plan. At the moment, I don't have any tree permits in front of me. I'm not aware of any from the HOA. We walked back there yesterday. I did not see anything as an arborist, because I am an arborist as well. Did not see anything as of right now that's slated for removal or that looks like would be slated for removal, at least right now. I don't know if something happens with a storm or something, that's a different story. But as of right now, this is for moving forward to protect all 3 parties for removals and required replanting on site.
Right.
That way, it's planted, and for the next 20 years, we're done.
Right. I think it sounds to me like the problem that the club has is that are there any ways of notating in the public record what trees have been taken down and what trees have been put up? I think that as I understand it, is sort of the issue.
And that, I appreciate that context. We are aware that the applicant approached this board, I believe it was earlier this year in about January, and we weren't aware of all the discussions that were held. So our concern was that this is what was going to be sort of effectively a removal of what is there and a replacement with what is shown on the plan. But I appreciate the clarification.
No, the intention right now is, right, on behalf of the HOA, if you want to speak, but on behalf of the village, my understanding of this, as we work through this, was as trees are removed due to their condition, health, this is going to be implemented in stages.
Is that in the resolution?
Yeah, let me take a look.
That it's a condition? I mean, right, well, don't take them down unless they're dead. We're building a will, we're writing a will for trees. This is awesome, guys.
Yeah, and also my plan indicates that when we do propose tree removals and new trees to be put in based on the plan, that the village is gonna be advised and a permit is to be applied for, so that way everything is put in accordance to the approved plans that we have
Right,
today.
okay. Yeah, I think that's
We understand that there is separately the whole tree removal permitting process that goes on at the administrative level. Again, we were just concerned that, when just looking at this plan on its face, was this going to be?
yeah, it's not happening.
No, and I think we could add a note
But I
on the
think that
plan,
needs to be
maybe
made
to
clear.
explain that, if
Right.
that'll make you
Yeah.
happier. I think the applicant may be able to add a note saying, something like, and subject to council, maybe saying that this plan is in effect the new landscaping plan as removals will be occurring, or something like that.
Yeah.
And subject to village permitting.
Right.
Yeah.
And the resolution is drafted, just grants the application as submitted, but we can put some additional language to make that clear.
I think
in
so.
the resolution. Yeah.
Otherwise, I think people could get really confused.
Yeah.
by it.
Yeah, that's no problem. I think we both have the same intention, right?
Yeah.
Like we want to screen the properties. The blind book doesn't want to see us. We don't really want to see them. But we want to do it in an environmentally friendly way so that we're not here again in
Right.
8 to 10 years.
Right.
So it's not fair or feasible for the plants and for the residents.
Right.
That depends on the HOA.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
So does that address your concern? This is gonna happen over time. It's not gonna happen all at once, and so it shouldn't be as much of an impact. And Judson, if you can, whatever language you can add to just make it clear that
Yes,
this
well-
is the plan
Right.
to be implemented going forward.
And I will tell you that will not necessarily appear as a condition. It will just be, it will not appear as a condition, but rather we'll just amend the resolved language to indicate that that is the intention of the plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you'll add a note
and
on
then
the plan?
I'll add a note. Yeah, as soon as we get the resolution, I'll add a note and then I'll email it over and drop off hard copies, whatever's necessary.
Also just add that it's subject to village approval
The
for the
tree
trees.
removal is always a subject to.
Yeah.
But that can be a condition.
Yeah.
Yeah, fine.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so if everyone is on board and no one has any further questions.
Nope.
Judson, why don't you just go over the resolution?
Okay, so it is a resolution for an amended approval, as you indicated. This was a component of a site plan approval that was issued, being amended because of the sufficiency or the condition of the landscaping over time. The resolution is in standard form, recites the materials that have been submitted, confirms that this is a secret type 2 action requiring no further environmental review. There is a resolved paragraph that indicates that the amended site plan is granted. That will be revised, as we just indicated, to confirm that this is a plan that will be implemented over time as required. There are 3 conditions. One is submission of a construction management plan to the village building inspector and superintendent of public works and village engineer. I think we can actually tweak that for building inspector, and also indicate that tree removal will be part of that as well. Planting plan will be amended to replace a proposed Norway spruce tree with a native evergreen species to the satisfaction of the village planner and the superintendent of public works, village engineer. Otherwise, all of the conditions are standard.
Okay, all right. Subject to the modifications that you proposed, Does anyone have any additional?
I move to approve it.
A motion and a second? Oh, yes, we need to close that. Oh, yes. Does anyone out there in the public want to speak to this application? Go away, David. Enough of you.
Early bedtime.
All right, yes. Motion and second to close the public hearing.
Moved.
Yes.
You don't say that with enthusiasm.
Mr. Mendelson?
Yes.
Mr. Teague?
Yes.
Mr. Weissman?
Yes.
Chairman Goodman?
Yes. And now with the resolution, motion and a second to adopt the resolution.
Moved.
Second.
Mr. Mendelson?
Yes.
Mr. Teague?
Yes.
Mr. Weissman?
Yes.
Chairman?
Yes,
Thank you.
all right.
Thank you so much.
There you go. Thank you very much. You can send me the draft if you want.